One love, Delta 9 family. Welcome to the flight, and thanks again for joining us here on Delta 9 Media. Now, today we're going to be going through this presentation, these new findings that we got yesterday, and we're going to be analyzing it and making sure that we point out certain very pivotal information that has just been exposed about the case by the aunt and other persons that were interviewed by Mr. Chase yesterday. Now, I want to thank every person as you come in. Do make sure to hit that number 9 button so that I will know that you're hearing me clearly and that you're able to be a part of the show in a real way. Right now, I want to get into this information right away like we usually do over here so that we don't waste no time with getting straight to the information, straight to what's going on. Where are you joining us from right now in the world? Where I'm at right now, PA, we still getting there. We almost there when it comes to the summer weather. But wherever you at, if you got that summer sun, that's the way I love it. Enjoy it, right? Let's hear right now what's going on with the aunt because the aunt is pointing out and it's very pivotal information that we need to investigate. The aunt is pointing out something about how Grand Rising Robert, and the aunt is pointing out something that's very pivotal about how Adrianna originally disappeared. She has a perspective that we need to really investigate and look into because don't forget, Haley has been saying the same thing for a while. Haley has been saying that it's someone that she knows is somebody that she would have been close with or she found in a position of authority that more than likely might have led her out to the pool. So we're going to get into that investigation today, right? But first, let's listen to what the aunt has to say so we could put on the record in her own words because she points out this conversation as well about the cotton wool in her nose. So now we not only have the father pointing out that there was cotton wool in her nose, but the aunt is pointing this out as well. Plus, y'all know yesterday was big progress in this case as far as it relates to pathology reports and stuff like that. Y'all see how professional people is deal? Come and face the media, they have nothing to hide. Express the information to you in a way that you could understand it, right? You see how real people is deal with things? Let me hear what the auntie got to say about it. Again, I'm gonna ask, as you come in, drop a 9. Make sure that I know that you're hearing me clearly. As long as y'all hearing me clearly, then we move on.
So, thank you for having me. No, the family is not going to accept that. I
Point blank period. We're not accepting that report from McCushion. I just want to put in the record. I got some notes here and I'm making sure that I point out all the things that is fraud right now and all the things about this case that really needs to be analyzed because the family in accepting the report, the liar exposed the fraud in the report.
I listened to Dr. Todd briefly, and I want to also state that that's not the police territory. All right, to decide to conclude that the family has had many questions that are not answered. They have been left unanswered, and some of those questions includes time of death, includes whether the liquid, the fluids in her nostrils came from the pool, because as we all saw, that pool was drained before water came out, was able before a sample actually was able to come from it. And so we have
Y'all hearing that? Yet another person is pointing out to us a possible cover up is afoot. Where did they get the water from? The lawyer pointed out this and he's asking who signed off for this water, because this got jail. This got jail. Who signed off for this water? Plus, where was Slim when you was taking this sample of this water? Could Slim confirm? Cause Slim, the person who claimed to be at work that day and all them thing who was lying bad, he in the history of the video. Where was he when you was taking this sample? Did he confirm that you took this sample? Hmm? You see how much going on with this case and why we got to keep highlighting these things all the time, bringing forward the right narrative so persons could understand.
Have questions. We also have questions concerning the marks on her body, identical marks on her arms, identical marks on her knees.
Marks where? The mark on the knee. We went in depth on the picture, right? You hear the auntie pointing out the same thing. You hear the auntie identifying that there were bruises, that there were marks on her body. But the first pathology didn't say that. The president stepped out and he didn't say that. Other persons that were inside of the office at the time or inside of the room when they did the pathology, only a few persons were brave enough. And one of them was just free yesterday. And we're glad to hear that Nurse King is free and able to be with her children and able to be the great mother that I'm sure that she is. Such an intelligent young lady. Make sure that you pay attention to everything that's going on around you because the case is still active and the information that you give sends shockwaves into what's going on with everything with Adrianna Young. It gave persons insights into certain cover-ups that was afoot and people could clearly see. And the aunt is pointing out the same thing. There were bruises on her knees. Remember now, this is your little sister first daughter, you know. So y'all could understand how close she's gonna be with how close she's gonna be with Adrianna.
The mark on her forehead. So we have so many questions that have not been answered, and so we just cannot accept what the police have said there.
The initial autopsy said she drowned. Are you, the family, of this belief anywhere in your heart?
All right, so we as a family, we're saying that, all right, maybe she did drown, but
Mhm.
we think that she was forcefully drowned. We know that she was definitely not drowned in that pool.
We know she ain't drunk in the pool too, auntie. We know she ain't drunk in that pool too. We know they cooking up that conversation and we're here to expose what's going on with that. The science proved that she didn't drown in the pool. The family don't believe that she drowned in the pool. There's only few people saying that she drowned in the pool. And the persons who are still trying to convince us of that, we already know what's going on with them. We know what's going
And
on with them.
we were there. I touched her body. Her body was not bloated. Her body was firm and cold.
Y'all hear though? No bloating, and she was there. She saw and touched Adriana because obviously that's her little baby, that's her niece, right? And she was able to identify the bruises and the fact that there was no rigor mortis, there was no bloating. So how was she floating in a pool? That's why the second pathologist stepped forward and said her death is very suspicious. It is very, very suspicious. And you know what's even more suspicious? The persons who are trying to cover this up.
All right. So we know what we saw. So her nostrils, both nostrils had cotton wool inside. That's what I saw. I examined. So we're not um, refuting that she drowned, but we're saying that she definitely did not drown in that pool. All right. So that's our position.
Could you take us back to the day Young went missing to the time that her body was retrieved from the pool? I know it's a painful experience, but for context, I would really like to know.
All right. So it's a day that I really cannot forget. That Wednesday, I was home. I had a class online, and I suddenly got ill. I started not feeling well. And so
Definitely welcome into the live, guys. Welcome into the live. Now, if you have not taken a few seconds already to play your part in this movement right now for justice for Adriana, for justice for all the persons that would have been unalived in very suspicious ways in Guyana, take a few seconds. Take a few seconds. Thumbs up the content. Boost it in the algorithm so that everyone can be updated with all the updates that's going on with this case and everything else that's trending in the diaspora as it relates to what's going on.
my class should have started at 1:15. I texted my students in the chat and I asked them for us to start at 1:30 because my tummy was hurting me. So I went to the bathroom, came back at that time, started the class, and then we had some technical difficulties, and so I was forced to end my class a little early. By that time, I was getting a severe headache. So I said to my son, one of my younger sons, Malachi, I said, look, give me two Panadol. I'll go drink and don't wake me up. Well, I went into bed and just to lie down so that the headache will go away. And then my sons came knocking on the door, mommy, 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 mommy. So I knew that something was wrong. I jumped up.
Voice of the people is saying right here, it is really a heartbroken situation. Even if she drowned in the pool, no signs of rigor clearly confirms she was either sedated or unconscious, making her unable to help herself after being placed. You know how sad that is? And that's one of the most painful ways. I don't know how many of you in the chat right now ever had an experience where you almost drowned or you fight up in water before when you're learning to swim and you had a little struggle and the water get into your nose and start burning at the back and burning certain areas and you start feeling that pressure. Mm? That's a painful and horrific way. And these is the things that I'm pointing out. And that's why we keep highlighting these type of things so that persons would understand how important it is that these people be brought to justice. And that's why we will keep pushing the fire. We will keep keeping this on the front burner. We're going to keep highlighting this all the time until these persons are brought to justice. Why? There's so many in high authority as well that are trying to prepare, to push, and to make sure that persons have this false narrative in their head about the way that this girl met her demise.
A friend was on the phone. She was saying, Amika, your niece is missing. I'm like, what? Where? You're out of your sleep. And I drove over there very quickly. Well, I live a short distance because I live in Tushen. And I went across there. I saw people sit down. I'm like, why are you sitting? Get up. We have to look for her, and so on. Um, the thing that I want to impress upon the police is their attitude and their attitude towards this family and their attitude towards the owner. Well, the hotel has several owners. I'm speaking specifically about.
Y'all hearing? Even the family is calling out. The family is exposing certain things again and again and again. But are we seeing any real punishments coming for these persons that was there that day, that was there that night, that kept the family at bay while they were just trying to find their child? Hmm? What's going on with the persons that was on the shift? What is the disciplinary measures that were meted out to them? Are these persons still a part of the force? Who is these two phantom so-called officers that suddenly were let go? What is their names? What part did they play and why were they let go? This is the things we want to understand so that we could now regain this confidence. Because guess what? There's a confidence that's going to be needed for the police force to police this election that's coming up. Because as you see what's going on right now, this race is getting very sticky. Look what's going on with Mohamed right now. And look what's going on the ground right now because everything is beginning to bubble up as we get closer to elections. And we're not letting them take this one off the highlight. We're not letting them take this off of the headline because it's important and it's very, very important that Guyana realizes that this is wrong beyond political spectrum, beyond religion, beyond all of that. This is right and wrong. This is a life of a child. And the persons who are trying to cover it up, the persons who are behind this directly, should never be allowed to have no prominent position in power in any country, let alone Guyana.
About Butch Narain Bola, son, because while I was there, we had a very small crowd initially, family members, neighbors, and so on, who came out. And while I was there,
The 5 a.m. call time. Where's my backpack? The last minute assist. Going live.
son was just on his phone. Then you saw one police come up and talk with him. And then, nobody came to us to say, all right, what can we do to help? We asked repeatedly for the pool to be emptied, for us to search, and everything fell, all of our requests fell on deaf ears.
All
We
on deaf
saw
ears.
the
Now,
police protect.
how many times must we hear this same conversation over and over repeatedly in Guyana, right? Now we're hearing that persons are supposed to be wearing body cams, right? And there's cameras all over the place for security, but there should be cameras as well to monitor certain things, and there should be persons that are in position, right, that can really discipline certain persons in law enforcement when they do these things because they're making everybody look bad. They're making the whole situation worse for Guyanese. Because who feels safe when you got a force that is getting accused of these type of things? Hmm? These is the things that they really got to look into. They have to look into these things because these small things is what build up to the big problem that we're dealing with right now. Right now, people coming in from overseas to investigate the case. Persons are analyzing it all over the world, but these small things, like the police force making sure that they move in a professional manner. How about that? Such a simple thing, eh? But look at how many complications it could cause when these simple things are not done.
Guard, defend, and they're even defending now the owners, all right, or the owner of that hotel. So it has been such an emotional roller coaster, and I can tell you that, especially for my brother-in-law Sir Brian, and for my sister Amicia, and for their children. All right, I've had to listen. I've had the privy to listen in. I was privy to listening on conversations between my niece and my nephew, and my daughter and my niece, and they're hurting. They want justice too. All
Mhm.
right. So it has been such an emotional roller coaster.
And who else is saying justice for Adriana? Who else wants to make sure that there is justice in this case? And we're here to highlight certain things about justice in this case. Who else is saying justice for Adriana? Type justice for Adriana in the comment section, or the simple way is to just drop a 9 because Delta 9 Media is all about justice for Adriana. So let's drop a 9 in the comment section. I can drop a 9 for myself because I saying justice for Adriana Young. I'm saying justice for Dan Keon Fajane, right? They know who shot this young man in his face. They know who did that. They know who unalived him. And the person is willing to come forward. Ask Mr. Huge. Mr. Huge got the information on that. Mr. Huge is ready to have the person deal with it in a real way. But where is the witness protection? Hmm? You see them thing? People are playing games, and we are not playing games over here. We're gonna highlight this real information, and we're gonna bring it in a real way. And the trolls, don't come in the comment section. I'm gonna left y'all and expose y'all. I seen some of the real persons over here that is real right thinking members of the channel and persons that's really updated with what's going on in the case, and just right thinking members of society. Persons who want good for people just like, you know what I'm saying, want good for themselves and they want the same goodness for others and persons around them. They're not just this selfish set that, got this cold perspective about what's going on in this case. Right, Donna? And the thing is this, when you are coming to the comment section, sometimes as just go ahead and just block y'all, but sometimes I leave y'all. I want to see the real supporters of justice, the real patriots on the channel dealing with y'all in a real way. So don't come wrong, please. Right now, we're talking about justice for Adrianna, and we're listening to the account that her aunt gave. So far, she mentioned the cotton wool in her nose, buddy. That's the point that I will harp on forever because I never hear a person go swimming with cotton wool in their nose yet. Yet, how did it happen? Who did that? Some person that is either at the hotel as a guest or a staff member or a member of the force had to do that. Some person that was on that premises knows about that. And we're going to keep highlighting all the details and putting everything together and exposing all those who covering up until all of them are brought to justice. Because this is not one person show. This is not two-person show. This is not three-person show. It's more than three people is complicit in what's going on right here with the unaliving of a child in Guyana. How you think we can sit by and just watch them? Mm-mm, that can't go down.
Poster. Um, I also would like to address what the our president, Mr. Ali, has said, and Mr. Ali promised us. He promised the father of Adrianna, Sir Brian Young. He promised him that he will
Real thing, Laureen. Real thing, Miss Laureen B is saying justice, come out, speak out, save yourself from the sneers of the inferno, right? And some of them, to be honest with you, will find hell right here on earth because their mind will never give them rest because of the persons all over the world that is crying for justice. The guilt, right, that is on their conscience will not allow them to have a life of peace because of their wicked mindset. And that's why we keep highlighting this. That's why we keep pushing this type of content. That's why so many persons are coming in and making sure that they hit that thumbs up button and boosting it in the algorithm so that every person that's trying to cover this up can see. All of we's not like y'all, buddy. All of we's not like y'all.
leave no stone unturned, that he will provide all of the resources that are needed for an independent investigation. Sad to say, that has not been materialized up to now. We have asked, Sir Brian has asked, Amicia has asked, the family has asked for the FBI to come in. The
Mhm.
embassy, the US embassy, is waiting on the government of Guyana to ask. They're willing, but they're waiting on Mr. Ali to ask, on this government to ask. And that request, for some reason, odd reason, has not been made. So
I wonder why though. I wonder why the request has not been made. Hmm? Does it take that long to do the paperwork? Is it a phone call situation? Is it a regular document that you just hit a signature on it and everything is formalized after that, just waiting for your John Hancock on it? What's really going on? Why we can't get the FBI in this? Active members, cause we want just the FBI, cause there's like a broken lamp. You know them broken lamp was gave the genie that you gotta be very specific with your words, cause it's tricksters. So yeah, We got to be very specific. Active members of the FBI, active members of Scotland Yard, active members of the Canadian Mounted Police to come and expose this one McCushion. Why we can't get her?
The our family, we're hurting on every possible level that you can
Mhm.
think of. We don't have the police by our sides. We don't have the government helping us. All right. We have what we do have done, what we're thankful for, and I would like to inject this here, is that we're really thankful for all of the supporters that have stood and that are standing behind us. Those persons who have never met us. I have now are now hearing about us for the first time all over the world. Those are the people that we are extremely, extremely grateful for.
You have lost a loved one.
Mhm.
Now, you heard the aunt making sure that she extend her special thanks to every person who has been supporting the family, who's been making donations to them, helping them to be able to meet their fees, their legal fees, their travel fees, and everything else that, costs these days. Everything costs. So, right now, if you have not had an opportunity or you didn't know about the GoFundMe for the young family, it's on your screen right now. It is on your screen right now. And I would ask that the moderator just take a couple of seconds and paste the link into the description and into the comments of this video as well, so that persons would be able to, whatever you can, whenever you can, you know, make a donation so that they will be able to take care of everything that they need to take care of on their side as it relates to justice for Adriana. I'll make sure that I leave this up for a couple more seconds so persons will see it in the record and they will be able to make that donation because it's needed. It is needed because they're going against a very large amount of persons with a lot of funding and a lot of power that's trying to cover up this because guess what? It might be too close to elections. There might be too many things they name calling in right now. It might be too much going on. So this is too much for them to deal with. So they said they're gonna left it to the politicians. They're gonna left it up to whoever is gonna deal with it. But guess what? You can help the family to deal with it in a real way. Because as we can see, there will be no real help coming from the present persons in authority as it relates to justice for Adriana. So do make your donation when you can. Now, let's jump right back into the content with the aunt exposing these details in the case.
I feel your pain. What would satisfy the family of Adriana Young? I know there's nothing that can bring her back, but in this case, what can satisfy the family?
All right. So we would like to begin with an independent investigation. We want the FBI to come here to investigate this case. We want the government, we're calling on the government, we're calling on Mr. Ali and the government of Guyana to ask the embassy, the US embassy, to approach them, all right, to ask the US for the FBI to come in. What we want to see is not see a recurrence of what has happened here, all right? We want Adriana's death, and I always say her murder, to be the last of its kind.
Audrey, this is a real thing. And this is what a lot of people is seeing. And that's why the aunt keep pointing out. This is what they want. An independent investigation. But it seems, as Audrey's pointing out right here, and a lot of people really realizing that they denying the FBI to cover it up because of their connections to people involved, their friends and families, right? And we already understand that certain persons are related to the owners. Certain persons in power are related to the owners, people all over the world, persons in the diaspora, people in Guyana that don't understand what might be taking place right here and why there is a large effort to cover up in this case. What does the government have to gain from covering this up X, Y, or Z? Well, this is an election year, right? And it is alleged that a number of persons are supposed to be related to the owners of Double D that are a part of the authority in the country, right? So that's what's going on. That's what's going on the ground. And this is what the aunt is asking these questions about. Why no FBI, man? Why? That is kind of, suspicious.
Kind. We want the police force to rethink about what their purpose is as it
Definitely,
relates
Margaret.
to
Nine for
citizens, to
justice.
all
Nine for
citizens, not
justice.
just those citizens with money, not just those citizens that you can get favor from, not just those citizens that you can drive their vehicles and eat at their homes for free and their businesses, not just those citizens that you can go at their hotels with your sweet women and sweet men and have a good time for free, not just those citizens who are offering you contracts. We would like the police force to rethink about the decision and the oath that they have made to serve and to protect all citizens because they have certainly failed.
See what Carvel is saying? If the FBI comes, they can't bribe or threaten them to cover up the unaliving of Adrianna. And that's a real thing. You can't bribe or threaten them. You can't bluff them, right? You can't tell them, hey, this disorder. They're gonna make sure that there's justice, and that's why persons are saying, man, that's what we want. And every person that is really serious about justice would want to do something like this as well. Why would you bring a retired person? Plus, we're gonna hear that I'm gonna make sure I put it in the record all the time about this one caution and what he's doing. Anybody from Canada in the live right now? Is there anyone from Canada right now in the live? Is anyone tuning in from Canada right now in the live? If you're tuning in from Canada in the live, drop a Canadian flag in the live, buddy. Drop a Canadian flag because we're about to speak about what's going on with McCushion. And we want a person from Canada that can raise and expose what McCushion is doing in the Commonwealth of Guyana. Because it's alleged that McCushion used a statement that was not given by the father in his report that the government and everyone else is circulating right now. So, how valid is that report? How valid is that report? Right? How? How? FPA? Real thing.
The Young's family and they have failed me.
Tell us about Adriana Young. What kind of person she was? And obviously, you shared a very good relationship with your niece. Tell us about her. And was she a very good swimmer as well?
All right, so yes,
Hmm.
Adriana was an excellent.
Just being into media production, I can bring this video big, right? I can bring this video big. I want y'all to see just how this aunt went into a different space when her niece was mentioned, and she had to bring back these fond memory about her niece. I want y'all to understand the trauma. I want y'all to understand just how painful this is. And that is why it's so important and why we keep saying justice for Adriana and why we keep calling out for justice for everyone else because they keep traumatizing us. They keep destroying our families and they keep doing things like this to our relatives that got to live after us and deal with what they did to us in these situations so often and so much time is just repeating over and over in the country. Watch,
Tell us about Adriana Young.
watch,
What
watch her face.
kind of
Look at her
person
face.
she
Watch.
was? And
You see?
obviously, you
Look.
shared a very good relationship with your niece.
Mm,
Tell us about her. And was she a very good
understand.
swimmer as well?
All right, so yes, Adriana was an excellent swimmer, better than her aunt. And, she swam, her father would take them out to swim in the river. So she was very, very prolific, or a prolific swimmer. Um, she's quiet. She was quiet. I
Derek, you got complain from a caution. McCushin, right? A retired Canadian mountain police came to Guyana and was paid to do an investigation in Adriana's young case, right? He was paid to do this investigation. And guess what McCushin did? McCushin said that he concluded this investigation in just a few days. He said that he had most, if not all, of the information that he would need. And he was just now coming into the country. And then to top it all off, you know what McCushin did? After he was confronted by the father for a fake statement that he alleged that he got, when the father said, I didn't do no statement, so how you're using my statement? You know, McCushin didn't come out and right away expose what was going on with this investigation. McCushin left and did not let Guyana know that the report that we would get would have a number of fraudulent statements in it. McCushin is a part of presenting because he didn't go against it, and he's the person that they're using to lend credibility to his report. So right now, Derek, the fact that you're in Canada, we're exposing it to a person who's on the ground, buddy. More persons need to know about what McCushin is doing in Guyana. And we're going to keep highlighting we did. He is too wicked. He is too wicked.
I hate speaking about her in the past tense. Very
Mm.
quiet child, and that's why the family was able to stand out there and say no, she didn't leave here. Because when Adriana comes, whenever she comes at me, if she wants to go downstairs, she would come to me if I'm in the bedroom or in the kitchen. She would say, Auntie Amika, I can go downstairs and play. Auntie Amika, I can go downstairs and ride the bicycle. Auntie Amika, she's like that.
That's exactly what the doctor is saying. Are we going to hear from the doctor? We're going to hear what the doctor got to say. Very suspicious, she said. Very suspicious. And there needs to be a complete, thorough criminal investigation into the case. How is it thorough when they done bun down most of the evidence? You see how wicked and how evil this country is. Look at the difference in a pathology done in the US and a pathology done in Guyana. Where has way less people, and way more resources. But look at the quality that we're being provided with. Are we getting value for our dollar? Persons is investing the dollars. The dollars are there, but are we getting value for the dollars that's being invested in our country? Right? Novlet, are we? Grand Rising, good morning to you too. And to everyone else that's joining us live, to every single person that's joining the live right now. Good morning, Grand Rising, right? Make sure you play your part in the movement for justice for Adriana. Take a few seconds, hit the thumbs up button, buddy. Hit the thumbs up button and boost this video in the algorithm. You know why? Right now, there's trolls on this video that's making sure they do everything to that they can do in their power to make sure this video don't go nowhere. They do it to the live we do yesterday. The very first live that I did yesterday with the picture on the thumbnail. Yeah, they pull that one out to the algorithm. I don't know how they do it, but whenever there's videos with a lot of information exposing certain people in authority, it finds itself having problems with viewership. That's why I ask the viewers that are here right now. Thumbs up the content, boost it into the algorithm. Let everyone know that real people, right thinking people are saying justice for Adriana and exposing the cover up all over the world, Pinky. All over the world. Good morning. Good morning.
She was her mother's talk named Buddy. You know, you have that child that you can chat with. She was that for my sister. I was listening to some voice notes from her to her mom only this morning. And I can tell you, she was loving, she was caring, you know, based on those voices, based on my own experience with her. Just a really quiet, really humble, shy child.
You said that she sought permission from you to do every little thing in the house.
Yes, yes.
This is
Is
the
this
part.
why you
This is the part I want we pay attention to, guys. This is the part I want us to pay good attention to, Delta 9 family, where she's addressing something that's very pivotal in this case. She gave us an idea of the character of Adriana Young. She's not the type of child that just moves around just like that. She always asks for permission if she's going to go certain places. Let's hear what the aunt has to say about who might have taken her out to the pool just because of the way that she knows she needs to be.
form the conclusion that, or anybody could form the conclusion that perhaps she could not have left that pool unless an authority indicated to her?
Yes, definitely. So we have thought of this thing always, and we have decided that, well, we thought one of the things that we've thought about rather is that someone had to beckon her, someone had to call her, someone had to whisper to her to come,
Someone she knows.
someone she knows, definitely
Mhm.
someone she knows, and someone she is accustomed to seeing, someone she trusted. All right, so yes.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Who else was holding this narrative and getting a lot of fire for it? But still, we have to observe and understand. Good morning, Miss Junia. Good morning. And J Queen, big up yourself and definitely big up all the people watching us in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Big up yourself. Now, the thing what we gotta understand is that somebody that Adriana know and look at in a position of authority might be a part of what's going on right here. Might be a part of what's going on. And we got to now make sure that we pay some more attention to everything that's being said in that way. We gotta make sure that we pay attention, even more details to what persons are saying, because we know Stefan is one of the persons that persons is looking at, and there's a lot of narratives that's pointing in his direction. But again, if it was him, right? And if it definitely a person that she knows, who else is complicit in this? Because we know it's not a one person thing, so we want the whole posse, the whole crew we want, one from the bottom of the conversation all the way to the top. Every single one of them must be brought to justice. Not just the small person involved, not just the person who do X, Y, or Z. If you had a part to play, justice for you. You must face the consequences for what you did, Stacy. You understand this? What we're saying right now. They got to face the consequences, Stacy. Every single person involved, regardless of the part that you play, you must be brought to justice and you must serve your time for what you did.
I have a strange question. I don't know how to start going about visualizing this.
Mm-hmm.
I am hearing words like sacrifice.
Mm-hmm,
I'm hearing words like sedation.
mm-hmm.
How can you speak to that? What's really
Mm-hmm.
happening there?
All right, so we have also heard that. We have heard that this was a sacrifice. We have heard that this was not the first time that a sacrifice was done at the.
Justice, they got to be brought to justice because guess what? We have to deal with it. There's a justice system in place for them. Ali Khan White, there's definitely the justice system is in place for people like them. Hey, don't get it twisted, you know. We hang people in Guyana. Death penalty is still on the books in Guyana. Death penalty is still on the books in Guyana. And that's why we're saying bring them to justice. As they think that they are able to take life, then we know what the judgment is for that. That's why we're saying that. So I want everybody right now who's saying justice for Adriana, take a couple seconds, drop a 9 in the comment section, or write justice for Adriana. But over here at Delta 9 Media, we are all about justice for Adriana. We're all about justice for all our slain brothers and sisters, buddy. Too much, too often. And we're going to hear more about just these sacrifices and all of these different images and stuff like that that they put on the child body. Look, these people need to be out of society and they need to be in a prison environment or they need to be with the worms because they chose to take life.
A double day hotel. We have
Real thing,
heard that
Judy.
the family of Mr. Bowler has been practicing this sort of ritualistic, these sorts of rituals for a long time.
Secondly,
Now we're hearing a lot of persons denying it. And a lot of persons are saying, oh, this is not the case, this is not the reason, right? But the fact that so many persons are saying this and pointing out that these people is do these kind of sacrifices, why are others now trying to defend the fact that they don't? Is there something that they know? Is it a family and friends thing and everybody partake? Because don't forget that we're talking about one of the wealthiest political groups in the Caribbean. Now, what is really going on in Guyana? Is there some type of underground trafficking situation going on in Guyana that we are now being exposed to because of what happened with Adriana and the fact that so many persons is following this case? Is the Caribbean safe with persons like this moving around freely on free travel? Should persons now watch at certain persons because of the country that they come from? You see the type of embarrassment that this brings to Guyanese internationally, right? This is not a good look. And that's why we're keeping this on the headlines for justice because listen what the pathologist had to say. Listen how a real pathologist comes forward, face the media, and express what went down in her pathology. She ain't got nothing for hide, and she ain't taking pay, and you can't bluff she neither, because she's standing on her integrity.
the first autopsy ruled that Adriana Young drowned. Would you come to that conclusion?
At this point in time, I would not come to that conclusion.
Y'all hear? She will not come to the conclusion that she drowned. So why so many other persons trying to convince us that she drowned? Y'all hearing from another medical specialist. I know I harp on this a lot. I harp on points sometime a lot. But they cannot prove that she drowned. You see, as a person, I like science, you know. Yeah, I like science because science is a very hard thing to deny because it has these strong things of that just keep repeating it all the time. It keeps repeating and it proves itself with the repetition, right? Let's hear what the specialist is saying.
I think that there's a lot of information that needs to be gained, a lot of investigation that needs to be done. Uh, Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion, and by that,
Mhm.
it means that you have to exclude other potential causes of death. And oftentimes, when a body is found in water, the assumption is that the person has drowned. There is nothing at autopsy that is diagnostic of drowning. So again, that's what I mean by saying drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion. And in this case, what I have been told regarding the circumstances are so suspicious that I really think that there needs to be a very thorough investigation. And I would want to know the results of, say, toxicologic testing or drug testing from the first examination, as well as any additional testing that was done. Um,
She still didn't get the information from the first pathology. How come? How come the second pathologist doesn't have access to this information? And as we can hear, she's requesting it so that she could move forward with her findings. Will it be provided to her? Because as far as we understand from the lawyer, too, even they don't have the information. Hmm? PA is saying right here, right? Oh, he's healing up some persons, I see. So we'll move forward. Let's hear what's going on with the pathologist.
in accordance with the first autopsy.
So you would be very reluctant to say that this child drowned,
Yes, I would. Based on the circumstances that are reported to me, I would.
and you would recommend a thorough criminal investigation.
Yes, I would.
I also observed that you mentioned that there is some part of the body that was
Y'all here. Y'all here. For yourself, from a medical specialist, is saying, listen, drowning, you can't just come out just and say somebody drowned. You can't just come out from the minute you open the body, you already know that she drowned. What kind of stupidness is that? You have to now exhaust all the other possibilities of how this person could have died before you can finally say that this person drowned. So, how did you come to this quick conclusion that is drowning? Hmm? You can't. Did you exhaust the possibility that she was unalive? What about the cotton wool in her nose? What about the marks on her skin? I don't want to bring up the picture again. I did a whole video where we talk about this picture showing the bruises on her knee and her aunt talk about bruises on her body and a big lump on her head like if she fall and hit her head or if somebody lash in the middle of her head for her to pass out. Hmm? How are we gonna allow these type of things to continue, man? How the second pathologist got to ask him and expressing pretty much publicly to the media and the world that look, I ain't even get the first the information from the first pathology yet, and I'm waiting because that would help me with my findings, given that the body is now embalmed and they would have already did the original autopsy on the body. No, let's hear some more because it's good to put these things into the evidence, into the record, so that we could really start to pinpoint and highlight these things. We can't forget the persons that is behind these kind of cover-ups. We can't. Because for all they just play their own type of thing too, and they just do their own kind of thing and get people to cover it up too.
not examined. Could you take me through that?
Oh, well, I don't know if I could say necessarily that it was not examined, but looking at the structures of the neck, the hyoid bone, which is a U-shaped bone that sits at the base of the tongue, as well as the thyroid cartilage, which is part of the voice box or the larynx, they still had a good bit of soft tissue.
And Stacy, this is so sad when we realize that. It is so sad when we realize that it's the persons you love the most times that will hurt you. It's someone that she knew. It's someone that she knew, right? Someone that she knew. Hmm.
Tissue, muscle, and whatnot around them. Now, certainly, you could feel them and tell that they were intact. But for a case such as this, I wanted to expose them a little bit more so that there's no question that these structures were not broken.
How problematic, doctor, how problematic would it be to say that Adrianna Young drowned?
Again, I think it is problematic because of drowning being a diagnosis of exclusion. And what I was told
Diagnosis of exclusion. Let me write it down. Because I want to make sure that I remember that term, that professional term that's being used right there. Diagnosis of exclusion. I want to make sure that I understand and I make sure that I harp on this too because how they just gonna come around Yeah, how they just gonna come around and try to tell we that did they exclude every other possibility? Did they exclude the possibility that someone strangled her? Did they exclude the possibility that maybe she fell and hit her head somewhere? Did they exclude the possibility that someone put the cotton in her nose and then possibly put her into the chlorine room? Right? Did they accept the possibility that someone unalived her? Because we heard from alleged persons that were there saying that they heard a scream and then they saw persons forehanding a female in the upstairs room, the same room that was set on fire, the first room that started to burn when Wetfoot Smith was walking down the steps and them thing like a big boy, right? This thing right now is very serious. It is very, very serious, guys. I just want everyone realize what I'm saying. Ladies and gentlemen, persons in the chat, I want y'all realize how serious this thing is, you know. Y'all hear what the second pathologist is saying, man? First off, she doesn't have the information from the first pathology, which everybody want that information to figure out what's going on with the case. And it is very problematic the circumstances surrounding Adriana's unaliving. Plus, you can't just say a person drunk. You have to exhaust every other possibility, right? Because it's a diagnosis of exclusion. It's a diagnosis. Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion within the field of pathology. So we can't play them kind of games, Pinky. There's someone behind this covering this up. And we got to ask ourselves, why does the leaders of the country always find themselves in these kind of things? You know what I'm saying? Why? It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing to persons international and it is dangerous. Very, very dangerous to any person on the ground right now in Guyana. You need to know what is going on with this case. There's a lot of implications in this.
regarding the circumstances of her disappearance and uh, death and the subsequent finding of the body in a pool where uh, it reportedly had previously been searched and she was not there. So that I find very disturbing.
God and
It's
time
not
with them,
like she
Avril.
was
God and
seen
time.
playing in the
Real
water
thing.
and then a little bit later is
Mm-hmm.
found under the water. This, as was told to me, she was seen in the water and then disappeared. And the pool was searched. She was not there, and then sometime later is found in the pool. That is disturbing because I don't think you can simply write it off as this child drowned. You've got to be concerned: did she die sometime earlier and then was placed in the pool? Because there's not going to be any good way to discern whether or not that happened. That's
There's a very, very big amount of suspicion around the way that this child lost her life. And from my perspective, that's what I believe. I believe right now that there's so much more that persons in authority could do to solve this case and solve it quick. But they're dragging their foot on this situation because the wrong persons might be exposed. Persons that might be connected to them might be exposed in this situation. And who would want that in an election year? Let's analyze what's going on here. There's right and wrong, and then there's the things that you want. And somewhere along that path right there, somebody's choosing the things they want and they're saying, listen, we might got to cover down this is somebody because if this exposed, we will not find ourselves in them positions of power very soon or if ever again in Guyana because the whole world is watching this. And persons must be brought to justice, which is the thing that they got to make sure they remember. We are not letting up on this. So we know that there's only 100 days to elections, less right now because days keep processing. But, but we will keep highlighting this and connecting those involved to the cover up with it and exposing it every chance we get.
going to require an investigation. and additional testing to see if there's anything that may be amiss, such as unexpected drugs in her system or any indication of a sexual assault. Things like this need to be considered and need to be looked at, given, again, the circumstances that were reported to me.
Doc, I need to ask, and I must. Did this body lose any forensic value?
Uh, I would say yes. The examination that I had the opportunity to do is compromised at this point because, again, it's a second autopsy. So we have issues of artifacts that are introduced by the first autopsy. We've got decomposition that has taken place, and we've got embalming that has occurred. Now, so that introduces a lot of artifact to the body, and it compromises the examination somewhat. But this diagnosis and this investigation doesn't hinge just on the autopsy. It primarily hinges on the investigation of the death or the investigation of any potential crime that occurred in association with this child's disappearance.
What next for you? What next from here?
You understand? Everything is hinging on the investigation. McCushin is ahead of the investigation. He's the head of the investigation, no longer in the country, by the way. No longer in the country, by the way. And the report got a lot of big holes in it. And it is connecting to a poisonous tree. It's the fruit of a poisonous tree. Because one of the statements, as the lawyer pointed out, is not an official statement and is the statement from the father. How disrespectful could you be? How wicked could you be for the father to tell you that that is not the statement that I gave in the case, in the investigation of my daughter unaliving, and you still let that report go out? You still allow that report to go out, knowing the fact that the father was the person that actually took his daughter out of the pool? Y'all hear the international pathologist. She's telling me how important the investigation is. But the persons in authority, they ain't treating this investigation as if it is that important. Because look who is running the investigation. We don't even know who running the investigation. All we know is that Lyard McCushin, take your money and go your way McCushin, right? Was a person that was a part of it to lend credibility, which he had none of. None at all because of what he did. Look at what he did to Sir Brian. That's what he did to Sir Brian. He processed a report with a fake statement that he claims that he got from Sir Brian. Man, listen, man. You hear the lawyer talk on it, man. Because we need to keep highlighting this thing. You know, y'all think this thing is like, this thing is not no joke. This thing is serious. And if we let them brush this under the rug, what's next for we? What is next for we?
To follow, and all the other little details surrounding the release of that report from the police on the findings of the first autopsy. So, what's happening today, very shortly, the autopsy on the body of Adrianna Young will commence. I see Dr. Todd is making his way over to us.
Let's listen to what Dr. Todd Goffer said. Because don't forget, guys,
Dr. Todd, thank
Dr.
you.
Todd is the
And
lead attorney in the
I
case.
must tell you
Here
that I
we
really
got to say
appreciate
about
you making yourself
Mr.
available now
McCushin
to
because we
speak with us. Just
understand
a few
how
questions, though.
important the investigation is, right? Because the pathologist is saying, look, the investigation is going to help us to understand exactly what happened with Adrianna. This pathology, I still need information from the first pathology to get it the way that I would want it done. But let's hear what's going on with the investigation from the lawyer. Let me understand the persons that we have in authority and the things that is going on in the country because it's important to us. So if you have not already, if you didn't take a couple seconds to play your part in this movement for justice, please do so now. Hit that thumbs up button. hit that thumbs up button and boost this video in the algorithm so that we could continue to highlight the injustices and the cover-ups in this case for justice for Adrianna, in the cases for justice for Kian, Ronaldo, Crummy Wing, every single person that they unalived in suspicious manners. Right now, we're saying justice for them. Play your part. Play your part in this movement. Thumbs up the content.
I want to ask ahead of this autopsy. The police in Guyana seem to have closed the door on this investigation by releasing certain aspects of the first autopsy, hours ahead of Adriana's second autopsy. As a former policeman yourself, how does this resonate?
This second autopsy is also an opportunity to get more information. We are not at this stage going to uh, preempt what the results will be. The police, they have an obligation under the law to investigate and not to refuse any information in the investigative process. So, where the police is preparing to submit a file for advice at the Director of Public Prosecution's office, I believe it's in the public's domain by now that a review or a second autopsy is going to be conducted. And that also is information that the police, of course, must take into consideration. And so at the appointed time, when the results are available, from whatever tests to be conducted are all completed and are available, those will also be submitted to the police. It is not for the police to
family up in prayers. Continue to show our love and demonstrate our love in prayers with this family, as I will continue to do. I want to call upon all Guyanese to respect the rule of
This is
law.
the information coming
I
out to the
want to
first
call on all
pathology.
Guyanese to
This is the information coming out of the first pathology. We just had a chance to listen to the second pathologist point out certain parameters as it relates to drowning. Now let's listen to what the head of state of the country had to say about the very first pathology, Donna. Let's listen to what our head of state had to say about this young girl that lost her life under very suspicious circumstances, and we know that she did not drown in that pool. But let's listen to what Mr. Ali has to say about what took place. Analyze this and let me connect it with what we just hear from the pathologist. That's why I do these videos like this. You hear this piece and then you hear the other person piece, and we put the two together and realize we're going on right here.
avoid action that the family would have an opportunity also to bring in, add, or observe. The family would have chosen Dr. Collins, and they would have had also representatives throughout the process today. Um, so the today, as I said, was an important day in evaluating the circumstances and the death of
Jackson, what's the point that you're making? I mean, you could call it in, or you could expound on it a little better so we could understand your perspectives on it. Are you saying that you somehow don't agree with what the second pathologist had to say? And if so, why?
Ariana. And I just want to
Noticing that you're
briefly
saying something there.
share with you what was shared with the police representative and shared with me. The forensic pathologists, as you know, as Frank said, were brief. And they started the work sometime around 1:20 p.m. That's when the autopsy examination commenced. And the objectives of the examination were to identify signs of trauma or injuries to the body.
Here I tell you, They don't want, Mr. Ward, they don't want a person like Mr. Slow on this case right here, you know. He's gonna know the right investigators to bring on his team. He's gonna know the real intricacies and how to really deal with this investigation. And plus, you already understand that a lot of persons that are in the force right now are willing to cover it up. So we would see a lot of persons ending up in handcuffs and before the court. If a person with the integrity, like a Mr. Slow or a Mr. Conway, is on this case right here. And that's really what we need. We need real persons to step forward that are not compromised and deal with this case so we could get some type of justice instead of persons stepping out like this, persons in authority stepping out like this, and embarrassing the country on an international level by pronouncing on drowning without excluding all the other possibilities. They never excluded that. And they cannot prove that she drowned in the pool. So how did she drown? That is proof that you need to exclude foul play. She never drowned in the pool. She was found in the pool, and it's alleged that she drowned in the pool. But science and everything else can prove that she did not drown in the pool. So there needs to be an investigation to X out the possibility of foul play before you can pronounce on drowning. That's what we just understand from the second pathologist. But seemingly, look what's going on.
Detect signs of sexual violence, collect appropriate forensic samples, document the postmortem examination through photographs and videography, determine the cause of death. Upon completing the procedure, the forensic
Definitely
pathologists
justice,
rule
justice,
out
Stanley,
signs of
justice for
physical and
Adrianna.
sexual trauma on Miss Young's body. After careful deliberation, the team concluded that Miss Young died as a result of drowning. Miss Young's relatives were briefed following the examination and informed of the medical cause of death. Due to the state of the decomposition of Miss Young's body, the pathologists were unable to provide an exact time of death. The relatives were also informed that the pathologists ruled out theories of forcible drowning or any other means of killing, followed by disposal of the body in water.
Y'all hear how we voice quiver water. I'm a sound specialist. I did so many recordings, I can't remember. And if he was an artist and he was delivering for believability, I would say, yo, let's take that again from that part right there. We take that, we record that piece right there, or leave back it up, right? Because they don't sound believable at all. That sounds like a person that is just reading from a script to present information because they know what's really going on in this case. From my perspective, that's why I think, as I analyze what's going on, because if we listen to what the second pathologist say, there's no way that what Mr. Ali is saying right now could really scientifically and legally be so, because they did not rule out the fact that there might be foul play in this case. And we heard what the second pathologist said. We heard what the second pathologist said. We heard what the aunt said. There was cotton wool in her niece's nose. Hmm? So did we go all the way into that investigation and rule out the possibility that someone did that to her, that someone tried their best to and succeeded in unaliving this young girl?
So that was what uh, was communicated. Of course, as you know, the toxicology tests that would have to also be completed.
So then, if the toxicology report still incompleted and you didn't rule out the possibility of of her having a toxic substance within her body, how can you then rule it to be drowned in? You see how when you analyze this thing back and forth, just figure out these people is telling you a set of foolishness, a set of monkey story. A set of stupidness they're telling you. You waiting on the toxicology report. What will the toxicology report do? It will prove that she didn't have any toxic substance within her system, which would rule that out. So how you now ruling that is a drowning when the second pathologist said That drowning, you can't just let people drown just so. You got to exhaust all the possibilities first. You telling me should drown and you still waiting for exhaust possibilities. You're still waiting to get rid of the possibility from the toxicology report. But you, sir, are pronouncing on drowning. That makes sense to y'all? I want y'all drop a 9 in the comment section for justice for Adrianna when you realize how deep this cover up is, How are you able to pronounce on drowning, but you're still waiting for a toxicology report, sir? And you understand why it's important for the FBI come in this? Because the FBI is gonna know that drowning, right? I got it right on right here. A diagnosis of exclusion. Drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion. I can drop a 9 for myself because you never excluded the possibility of toxins in the system. So how are you ruling drowning? How are you ruling this as a drowning? This is a clear cover up in this case then. If we're to believe what the second pathologist just said, and we're to take her expertise and credibility into account, who you believe? I don't believe Ali telling me right here, buddy. And it's sad because you should be able to at least believe what the president is saying when it comes to the unaliving of a child. You should be able to believe what he's telling you. But we can't. If you compare what he's saying, he exposes it right there himself. We're still waiting on the toxicology report. Let's listen. Let's listen to this piece again.
Pathology tests that would have to also be completed. So that is uh,
You're still waiting on a toxicology test that has to be completed. The second pathologist just exposed. I understand why they didn't want the second pathology all the time. I could see clearly now. You see what's happened when you go back over things and you just analyze it and you later run through here. And you say, but wait, but wait, but wait, but wait, but wait, 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 wait. The second pathologist didn't just tell me that drowning is a case of exclusion. So you have to now pretty much exclude all other possibilities of death before you can pronounce on drowning. So how is Mr. Ali here pronouncing on drowning? And then right after the telling me, we're still waiting on the proceedings from the toxicology report so that we can do what? So that we can cancel out the possibility that she had a toxic substance in her system. So how can you now pronounce that it's drowning? You can't. The two don't go together like that. It doesn't make sense. You understand? We sussing it out. We sussing out what's going on with this case and exposing those that try to cover it up. We definitely gonna make sure that every chance that we get, every chance that we get, we do videos like this, exposing and highlighting things that are perverting justice in this case. And this is one of them. Because I know how much people believe in the words that come from Mr. Ali. You know how many people believe any conversation that's going to come from Mr. Ali on this case? But after you just heard from the second certified medical pathologist that is openly speaking to the media, not afraid, she didn't run out the country like the other three of them that was lying about certain things. Hmm? What do you guys think about this report right here? It aged very poorly. This report aged very, very poorly. And it's exposing a cover up. One of the most heinous cover ups in the history of our country, and the entire Caribbean needs to be aware. The entire Caribbean needs to be aware because guess what? This is the same person. This is the same person here that is the chairman over our brothers and sisters in Haiti and them thing. So if you don't care about people on the ground in Guyana, you mean to tell me you care about we brothers and sisters them in Haiti? Y'all hear what this man doing here? Pronouncing on a drowning without excluding all the other possibilities, going against the understanding of pathologists that certified and did so many cases before. Look,
a brief
These type of
synopsis
things give me
of
real
what
red
was
when
of
I
the
think about
information that
it.
is available with me. The pathologist would conclude their report and sign their full report. Uh, and that, of course, uh, within the limits of the law, will be made available to the family and also, I'm sure, uh, for public examination at any time.
Public examination at no time. How long now we do this? Y'all hear the second pathologist all the way in Georgia, just like Jack was pointing out. Yeah, she works for the state of Georgia, blah, 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 and all of that. Yes, she does. But she's pointing out certain pivotal things that if you listen and pay attention, you will realize why she's pointing out the importance of the investigation. It's important that you have a real investigation because that will help her to cancel out the other possibilities surrounding Adriana's death. And then she can comfortably conclude, like the president is attempting to, that she would have drowned. But right now, she can't. She cannot. She cannot. Hmm? And then they get this one is so talking about, oh, as soon as I observe the body, I got the video with Nigel playing that part when he said, oh, and I can bring it in. I can bring it in so that we could see it and realize that from jump they're trying to cover this up, and they had many players in the game. You see how I'm starting to buffer right now because I start exposing and talking certain things about. I want y'all realize, drop a like in the comment section, drop a like on the video, make a comment section, drop a like on the video right now, boost it in the algorithm now, because we're going through it piece by piece and analyzing all of those that are a part of this cover up, right? That are a part of doing things like this. You claim you love the family. You claim that you care about them. You claim that you're going to leave no stone unturned. But look what the second pathologist just exposed that you, sir, did. And then you want bully me. Oh, no, 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 no. Now everybody's take bully body. Certain persons respond differently to them type of conversations. Remember that. Now everybody's take bully. Not at all. This is not 5 o'clock meeting. This is the life of a child we're talking about. So you could come and raise your voice. You could get loud. You could hype up yourself from those who are under your authority. But you can't play them game with real persons that's standing for justice. You gotta come real and you gotta come correct, or else we're gonna expose you and the things that you're doing, not just the persons in Guyana, but the persons all over the Caribbean because you have that type of power, sir. So if you're doing it at home, you're gonna do it abroad.
Now, let me say that outside of this, it is very clear to me as president that this entire the events surrounding this entire sad situation of examination and re-examination of a number of things. First of all, and I intend to bring in international and regional.
You examine and re-examine a lot of things, but you know what you examine and re-examine? The fact that drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion that we just learned. And I just made a note of it because I know that that didn't make any sense to me. If drowning is a diagnosis of exclusion and they're waiting on a toxicology report, what are they excluding with the toxicology report? So, how can you now conclude drowning? Wickedness. Watch he grin on the face. Wickedness, let me make it bigger so I could look and analyze body language and everything. Don't let these people play no game on your body. Don't let these people act in no manner like if they're somehow superior. They are wicked. Wicked persons should not sit in positions of authority because they will oppress persons and they will put persons in compromising situations like the one that Adriana's family find themselves in right now. Right now. like Kian family find themselves in right now. He went and he talked to Kian mother too, and what did he do? Just recently, this is just the recent things that we highlighting. Look at this. Look at this and look how long this report coming. And I feel somebody, whoever they type earlier today in the comment section that type God and time, God and time, right? God and time. You see how the second pathologist come? It come long after. It come after they try to hold it back and make sure it don't go down. But you see, the second pathologist reporting even come out and they don't get exposed in their lies just by a person standing on the truth. You see why it's important to present the truth, to make sure that you thumbs up the video, to make sure that you play your part in this movement for justice. Hmm? Tell me, tell me if it's not important that we keep highlighting these type of thing, buddy. It's important. You know what I mean, Corwin? It's important.
Regional health to look at our existing laws, regulations, and SOPs in relation to policing work, in relation to laws governing missing persons. And when I say laws, I'm not only speaking about laws covering the police and police operation, SOPs covering the police and police operation, only relating this to the police. We also have to look at laws, SOPs, rules, regulations covering public places in relation to
We're gonna look at everything else. We're gonna look at all of that. And all of that is very important, and we must make sure that these things are in place. But you know what's more important right now? Sign the information for the FBI come. Sign the stuff, let the FBI come. You don't want to do that though. You don't want to do that because they're going to analyze even your statement. You don't want to do that. As a regular person on the internet analyzing your statement, sir, and look at how many holes inside of it, showing that you might have something to do with this cover up. You think the FBI won't be able to identify that? And this is not the only allegation we hear going on right now, you know. I know how much y'all know, Avril. Y'all know that Mohamed is saying that is in France, sign off on the card. How much people know that that's not the only thing that this big man is a part of right now, you know. Not only is he a part of one of the biggest cover up right now, but they're gonna try to paint him with a different brush and present him to you to be reelected. And we just heard it right there with evidence, not just me speaking against him, the pathologist, and she wasn't trying to speak against him. But when we put the two and two together, we realize no, 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 no. Ali, how you come out and say this girl drowned? And it's a diagnosis of exclusion. We realize that you were, sir, proffering information that was unfounded. It didn't have no foundation in the truth. Hmm? But in a little while, we're supposed to trust you again for another 5 years. Another 5 years of you trying to cover up situations that are important like this. Hmm?
uh,
You see what PA is saying right here? Dr. Carol Terry insinuated that the body of Adrianna had no undeniable evidence of drowning, right? She's basically pointing it out because they're saying that undeniably she would have drowned. But what the second pathologist is pointing out, like PA is clarifying and showing me right here. And I gotta thank PA and everyone else that is dropping all of these insightful comments in the comment section because this is a movement for justice, you know. It's not just me, it's not just the other channels, it's every person that's tuning in and involved in this. We all are coming together and standing in right and saying, look, this is wrong. We're not about this and the persons that did this, regardless of who they're related to, regardless of who's the big boyfriend, regardless of who's the family. You have to be brought to justice for unaliving a young child. It is just pure wickedness.
security arrangements in
Pure
relation to
wickedness.
uh, security cameras in relation to, in cases of public pool safety, all of these things. The laws, regulations, and rules, SOPs surrounding all of these things need immediate review with a objective of upgrading, objective of implementing modern standards.
You see, all of them things that he said, PA, all of the things that he mentioned, right, about the different parts, and he knows everything was inflated and all of them things, he gonna have to eventually stand behind this conversation, because we're not gonna allow it to go away. He's gonna have to represent or show where he got this information from. But you don't got no need to, because guess what? You cannot prosecute the president of Guyana. You can't prosecute the president of Guyana. He has that type of authority within the legal system. So he ain't got answer for none of this we saying. That's why he could jump out and say these type of thing and try to force it on your truth and that don't work for everybody, buddy. No, 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 no. You gotta come correct, because we are gonna expose this right here that's going on. And there's other things going on to right now in the country, because I think like we heard this conversation come from the president a lot. Let me get some more of what the lead person in the case is talking about, and then we're gonna get into some other matters that's going on in the country right now. Because remember, there's this big explosion about these cars. There's this big conversation going on with what's taking place on the ground with them and Mohamed. And he's exposing that these same persons are the persons that signed off on the car. Even more things heaping up and up and up on them going into the elections. Of course, they're going to try to cover down a case like this. But let's hear what the lead attorney said, because don't forget, according to Mr. Jack Dio, right? Todd is a so-called attorney. He know nothing about we talking. But let me understand why he might say these things.
In the press in relation to the expert or the investigator has found no evidence. And I'm saying, when did that become a new order of the laws in Guyana in relation to someone saying, we found no evidence? I remind the authorities that the only authority on the law to determine what is evidence is the court of law. The police gather information. They submit, they submit to the Director of Public Prosecutions for assessment. The Director of Public Prosecution goes through the assessment to determine whether there is enough to prefer a charge before a court of law, but not to determine what is evidence or not. And therefore, they are also in the process of gathering information. This is a process of gathering information. And so I see no reason or any law that will allow the police not to accept the information. Mind you, I'm saying we are not going to preempt, because we would accept, and of course, we have come with the understanding that this is an independent pathologist who is going to give an objective opinion. Whether it confirms with the three pathologists or whether it goes against is entirely up to this pathologist, who we, of course, accepted to bring this case to. Do you
And we clearly could see that there's a lot going against. There's a lot going against what they had to say. A lot.
find it strange that the family of Adriana Young is not yet in possession of the first report?
This request was made in relation to the preliminary. I believe the posture was that they were not going to release the preliminary report to the family, and we have accepted that. We found it very strange that as soon as this body arrived in the United States for a second autopsy, that this final report was disclosed. we are not going to question because they did that already. What we will see is that even without that report, because there are a number of questions, and maybe they
Hmm.
have released partial information, all right? But they are, of course, observations that are being made internationally in relation to this matter. We're talking about the toxicologist report. Now, the toxicology tests. What aspect did that examine? Because I can tell you, we all as Guyanese saw that by the time the first autopsy was conducted, that pool was empty. So I don't know that any police investigator thought to themselves in trying to preserve the crime scene, as which we know there is no crime scene which was preserved, to take any water from that pool. So we, the family, again, would have some questions. Where did they get that water from? Where, or whether that was a part of the test, whether the fluids found in the
Where did they get the water from? Hmm? You see what Novlet is pointing out? All these people who done this baby girl wrong can't hide from God. All their lives will be judged by our Almighty, all present, all powerful God, of whom there's none beside or beneath or above, right? One and only, the same power that's within you and me. We can make sure that we highlight it. Why? Because the judgment is sure. You see what Novlet is saying? He will deal with them. Hide from man, but you could never hide from the Almighty. Justice for Adrianna. Justice for Adrianna. Where did y'all get that sample from? The pool was empty. Y'all get that sample from the one slim? I believe so. I believe so. Where did the water come from? Hmm? And why the family? This is a thing that is still baffling to me, right? The same day the pathologist did the second pathology that was compromised, like she said, because of the first one, she was able to come out, face the media, have a conversation on what going on. Look how long they did the original pathology, and still the family don't even got the information. The family didn't get the full report and the documentation yet.
body were allegedly tested and compared with that of the water from the pool, because there was none by the time that was being conducted. We all
Mm.
know that in that country. So the thing about it is that uh, a lot of information is being peddled out there, but there were a lot of inconclusive findings. And the concern that the family has is whether from those portions which were inconclusive, whether they were recommendations to expand. The president of our country said that they will stop at nothing. They are going to make all resources available so that a thorough investigation can be done. Up to now, the family has not heard any recommendation for a forensic anthropologist in this regard. All right, we heard that there is no, which is important. There was no determination in relation to the time of death, etc. But the science, I said, the science is there, and if they believe that the science will not help, and we have exhausted the all the reach of the science out there, then make that public. But do not try to insult our intelligence by saying we have done all that we can when there are more things that can be done. So I believe in this process, this is another gathering of information right now. That is what the family are doing, gathering the information. And they are assisting the police. We all, in our time, and even myself as a former policeman, I have found that family members and members of the public have assisted the police in their investigation. And that's all they're doing, assisting them. They are going to bring the information to them and they will have to treat with it in accordance with law.
We heard the Attorney General of Ghana, Mr. Mohamed Nandlal, saying that perhaps Adriana's body has gone past that stage for a second autopsy. Have you, or do you know if this pathologist has formed that opinion?
I know that the Attorney General has on many occasions alluded to the fact that he's not competent in criminal law. And so I will leave it there. This is an area, criminal investigation, it is directly involving an issue and a knowledge and an application of criminal law. And I believe the Attorney General has on many occasions confessed that he.
Exactly. So there's still some amount of information, as we heard from the pathologist, that she was able to gather from what went down with this second pathology. She was still able to get some information, howbeit she's saying that, look, it's still a little compromised because of the first pathology that they did, right? And there's so much in this case, so many angles in this case, so much things that we got to analyze in this case so that we could come up with the list of persons. Because there's done a list of persons, I would say at least 7 persons on this list that we know really needs to be investigated in this case. And there's so many others that are a part of this cover up right now with this young girl, right? We hear persons name calling. I just show y'all from before the second pathology come out, how there was a cover up even by persons in high ranking positions in government, right? Coming out and reading reports that not all the way through. There's not all the way through, but you know what else people is saying that they're not all the way through it? Mohammed was exposing the fact that a lot of his connections that he would have used for these vehicles, it come from them. The hear Mohammed got to say right now about what's taking place as far as that level of corruption is going in the country. Because don't forget, he's running for president right now, and a lot of persons would have already started to hail him as one of the leading candidates. But however, I want y'all analyze this. How could he now say that he could do this alone? How could he run alone without a real team of politicians with real experience behind them? What y'all think about that? But let me hear what Mohammed got to say right now from the courthouse.
So, guys, the Ganesh Turk is coming to you live. It's the God Almighty. We are facing a lot of battles, but so far we are winning them. I will promise the people of this country that I will win this battle for them. Also, upstairs.
You see what PA is pointing out here? PA is pointing out that the FBI has probable cause to question the 2 Americans because their findings differ or go possibility of fraud and bribery is suspected. You see what I'm saying? So they can be questioned and they need to be questioned. And the thing is this, other persons as well need to be a part of that questioning because we know that it's not only the 2 of them that's a part of this, it's not only the 2 of them. These little cover-ups and these situations going on in our country is going on so many levels. So many levels.
In court, when I looked at the desk, I saw the 3 holy books, the Bible, the Quran, and the Gita. And when I looked at the Quran, I remembered Irfan Ali right away as a Muslim brother to another Muslim brother. It's such a great sin.
Hi, I'm Burke, a small business insurance expert with Byberk.
What's a Byberk?
Byberk isn't a thing. Byberk is a...
When it comes to backbiting and stabbing your own Muslim brother in the back, it's like eating the flesh of your dead brother. That's a verse in the Holy Quran. Irfan Ali is nothing more than a dishonest and dishonorable person. I have proof where Irfan Ali facilitated and assisted with the clearance of the Lamborghini. I'm waiting for him to say that that is a lie. And trust me, anytime he comes out and says it's a lie, I'll show the whole country how dishonorable he is.
You have proof?
I have proof, sir.
So, Mr. Mohammed, why not wait until he's denied?
Let him come out and say he did it. I have the proof.
Mr. Mohammed, for the first time, the week at large are speaking with you after the sanctions were imposed by the United States. The question is, many guys would like to know, did you and your father...
Yes, we did business with the government.
Yes, but did we pay the taxes?
And we paid the taxes.
The taxes for the gold.
All right, let's...
So now, the follow up on this is that the president and the VP, who had a press conference just yesterday, is stepping out and saying, look, you say you get information, you gotta bring all this information, you can't bluff we. You can't bluff we. Say, hey, you know this and you know they got to bring forward the information. Right? And you see Lewis coming forward and saying, hey, this brother is a criminal. I don't know. Let's think about that. Let me analyze that. Right? Remember, right, Lewis, remember, would you say that Moody is a criminal? Moody that was just here, Lewis Singh. Quick question. I know you're still in the chat. Drop back a comment and let's have a real conversation, or call it in. I'm going to put the number on the screen. We talk about it, right? Would you say that Moody, right, is a criminal because he was sanctioned by the US and stuff like that? Because don't forget that Moody was under sanctions as well, you know. Heavy sanctions, just like the Mohammeds them. Albeit that it might not be for smuggling, but he was under US sanctions as well just a few years ago. And look at how persons welcomed him and how he was treated when he came to the very same country that Mohammed is living in. Even though now Moody is no longer under these sanctions by the US, I think it's up like 2014 or something like that, that the sanctions were lifted. But Moody was under sanctions as well. So let's not forget that. These things change over time, right? These things change. Now, I ain't saying that what went down should have go down in that manner, but we gotta remember that Mohammed is not the only person that was sanctioned neither. What about me? Because she was a big part of what went down, as he's gonna point out. You can't smuggle all of them gold just like the government officials got to be a part of it.
Let's talk about this. Well, I think the fit person, as it relates to this 10,000 kilograms of gold, is Barajat. Because every week at his press conference, he would talk, he know two figures well, 10,000 kilograms and 75,300 for the Lamborghini. Which before I bought this Lamborghini, I called Jack Dio and said I want to meet with you. He said, come now to the convention center. That is in August, September. I told him I want to purchase a Lamborghini. He said, go to Irfan and talk to Irfan. That is what he told me. I met with him at the convention center.
Could you answer the question that my colleague asked? What is the goal? The goal, sir. The goal.
Well, listen to that. When all these secret meeting and everything was going on, and everything was good, Guyana was out of this conversation, you know. People was making their money and everything was going on sweet on the undercover. Now everything busts out. Everything busts out and all this story hit the fan, right? We're hearing about the persons that allegedly play a part in what went down here. And this is a case that is going to continue to heat up, as we see recently when they tried to take the car what went down over by the house. And look at how Daggy end up after that. And look at how Fata end up after that. And that's why I want you to realize these things got far-reaching implications. Because now they now might be targeted, from what I could see, because of their affiliations and connections with Mr. Mohammed.
And the accusations by the...
If someone smuggled 10,000 kilograms of gold out of Guyana, 10,000 kilograms of gold,
exactly.
Right? You think it's easy to smuggle all this gold out of this country if someone did it.
Sir, but you only have the
Senior
means.
government officials have to know about these things.
But what about
Exactly. Senior government officials had to be a part of 10,000 kilos of gold. You can't just ship it just like that. Who else get the money and now playing the game like if they know what's going on? Who else taking pay right now? Because we know there's so much corruption on the ground right now. Who else? Hmm? That's soon to be exposed. But let me see if this information is gonna come from Mr. Mohammed that he claimed that he get. Because the VP taking it like that and play the VP portion just now, we can hear what the vice president got to say about this.
This modus of operandi. Huh?
what about the done over a
Well,
period of
you just can't ship gold out the country like that. It's a process. The Minister of Natural Resources got to sign off. GRA. All these bodies.
So we're talking about smuggling, not the right process. The smuggling.
I'm only
If you're
talking to
smuggling.
journalists, sir. You're not a real journalist.
How do you
So I want to
determine that?
answer no questions. sir.
How do you determine
You're
that,
not a
sir?
real
And
journalist.
what is your categorical response to
So how do you
United
come to
States
that
accusations
determination?
concerning sanctions? Did you or did you not do it?
No, I don't know about that.
You don't know or you did not do
No,
it?
I don't know about
Okay,
that.
that's enough.
All right?
So how do you determine that I'm not a
We're here to
journalist,
talk
sir?
about the Lamborghini
And
issue.
what
We
is-
want to talk about-
what will be the proposed name of your political party?
The name?
Yes.
Yeah, very soon. The country will love the name.
You see what Audrey is pointing out? All that the Mohammeds got away with was aided by the government. We are not stupid out here. They were all partners in crime. I hold no grudge against the Mohammeds. People do change. And there's a real thing. Because remember that the president was being driven around in their bulletproof vehicle, right? They were close like that. He was a part of, we would say, one of the biggest party supporters. So they had that type of affiliation, but now, because a person might have political prowess or looking to get into an arena that they don't think that they should just continue to fund. That's the situation. But why want know? And why want we get a real conversation about? Without a real political party around him, or without Mr. Mohammed being a part of the coalition, do you guys really think that he can succeed in defeating the PPP alone? Or will he just succeed in stripping votes from the smaller opposition parties and the PNC as well? We are think. This is why seeing this is why seeing because it's gonna just end up being another political opposition because with the type of size that you're coming against, with the type of support that you're coming against, and the fact that you're dealing with a sitting government that just collect 50 something billion a couple days before parliament is dissolved, you gotta ask yourself, how will a party that is gonna come together with Mr. Mohammed that is not a part of the coalition gonna be able to defeat the PPP? Or will it just be a good diversion that will cause the opposition to lose this election because of the lack of collating in the parties that are going against the leading government or the leading party right now?
And what about candidates? Would you be?
Yes, we have a lot of candidates from right now the PPP, the CAPNO, and AFC. All parties want to come on.
When will the award?
Okay, so we hear right there that he's gathering persons from the parties that want to come on board. So pretty soon, this is going to be a very big thing when he actually gives us the list of the persons that are going to be a part of his political party because it's going to take members from PPP. They're going to take members from all the other oppositions, like he's just saying, is willing to come on board. Let's see what this new political party is going to look like. But for right now, Mr. Mohammed is in all kind of hot water because you got to get past who? You got to get past everything that's going on in the PPP, and you gotta get past Mr. Jagdeo because Jagdeo lane it's
In
like
PPP, discriminating against the Mohammeds because they're running, that led to the United States of America sanctioning them for the export of, in 5 years, over, not the export, the smuggling of over 5 years of 10,000 kilograms of gold. Did we tell the American ambassador to say they have a mountain load of evidence? Around the world, the United States of America, uh, maybe now on OFAC sanction, has like, for the whole world, maybe 1,000 people, less than that. And he's one, this family is one of those around the whole world. So that's one. Now, it is not us. We didn't smuggle the gold. And then the father tries to justify this and say, where in the world people want to pay their taxes? Well, we know.
But what about May Thomas? Isn't we meaning the persons that are a part of the party? When he referenced that word we, right? Is that meaning the persons that are a part of the political party that he is the chairman of? Because that being the case, don't forget that May Thomas, right? We can't forget me. We can't forget me in me. We can't forget May in me. Is not Junior. She played a part in what went down. So we got to make sure that we remember that when we're speaking about that, because technically that would make the PPP a sanctioned party because they have a member that was sanctioned and right now is on administrative leave, meaning you're getting paid, but you're on leave. She's still getting paid till now, right? And she was a part of the PPP party, or probably still a part of the party. So let me not forget about May and the part that she played as well. We don't forget that she was sanctioned as well. And she was a part of the PPP when she was sanctioned. So technically, the party was sanctioned as well. And that's why she was quickly, supposedly, taken out of active service. Hmm? Let me not forget that part, because I don't hear it being really being mentioned. And that's very important that we remember that.
We're not talking about evading little taxes on your income, or we're talking about $11 billion of taxes on just 5 years of smuggling the gold. But the father says, what's wrong with this basically? If we evade a little taxes, $11 billion. You know what's that? That's like all we got. $14 billion was given to the two shows from the LCDS, and $11 billion we could give all the children in Guyana their cash grant for a year. That's what we're talking about. And then we must be great.
And how much we could get for a billion, for 1 billion, for enough of them $1 billion contracts what a lot of persons got, that nothing in built yet with these pump stations and nothing in done yet with these schools all over the place in Bamia and all of these other communities where all of this money was spent. Are we getting value for those dollars? Hmm? What could we get for all of the money, for all of them roads and all of them things we're doing right, and all of the money that's being invested in that? Are we getting a value for those dollars? What could we get for them amount of money? Because when we check it, it's one of the largest budgets. And in February again, there's going to be yet another larger budget. So are we getting value, Guyanese? Persons in the live right now, are we getting value for all of these investments that we see going on? Is this money being spent in a way that all Guyanese is really benefiting from it? What could we get from that $1 trillion budget? Because we hearing we could get from Mohamed couple million. But let's analyze what should we have gotten from a $1 trillion budget. As we looking at money right now, as we analyzing what we could get for something. If we could get this for 50 something billion, how much we could get for a trillion? What we could get for $1 trillion? budget in a country? What type of infrastructural development we could really get? And is these infrastructural development really valuing the money that we're paying for them? Hmm? What could we get? That's what I want to know. That is what I want to know because it ain't looking like if we really getting what we're supposed to get. Because look at how a lot of the infrastructure. Remember, Georgetown is the only city in Guyana. You know? Georgetown is the only city. What could the only city in a country get for $1 trillion budget? What could a city small like Georgetown, we could walk around it when it's Mashamani. We literally walk around it from there to the other junction, right? We walk around it. What could a city that size get for $1 trillion budget? Hmm? What could the poor people in the country? What could the elderly people, the people them at the palms and them thing we all just suddenly forget? What could they get in a $1 trillion budget? As we analyzing the Mohammeds and their money, yes, they should, if they owe all of these taxes and the other persons as well that help them to evade the taxes should be brought in as well too. But we know that's not gonna happen because you can't, because that's the president and he is not under the same kind of jurisdiction like a regular person. So he could tell you anything and you could say anything, but you got to know, go beyond the constitution to prosecute that person. It's not gonna happen. In a court of public opinion, you might win, but in a court of justice, how is that gonna happen? Let's see if that ever happens. Let's see if that ever happens.
Grateful for the pittance that he gives back to some people. That's what the impunity of it all.
You see, is there not an impunity when persons is crying out for all of these things that's going on with them as well, and nothing is coming from the government? What about the people in Moko? What about the people them in North and all of these other communities that's begging for infrastructural development for a number of years? For y'all to do certain roads, for y'all to bring certain investments into the community. It don't happen. You know what's happening? Other companies is coming. Persons from out of the country is coming and benefiting more in certain communities than persons who's been living there in a while. And I'm watching closely. I want persons from North Rumbelt area. I want persons from the North Rumbelt area point out to me if what's really going on is going on like I'm hearing that they are now clearing off a portion where the outpost used to be, right? Saying that they're going to put a road there. Now, if they're putting a road in that area where the outpost used to be, does that mean that persons in that small market across the street will now lose their stalls? Does that mean that persons in that market are about to lose their stalls because of this so-called new road establishment that they're about to do? And when does this project really take off? They try to hold back because they know if they do things like that, and they know election time is going to be a problem if they were going to get any real votes for that. But if they already started demolish parts of the outposts, then it means that they do intend to put a road there. So then what happens to the persons that got stalls in that market that they underfund for so many years, that they never allowed to get no real foot in business in the community? Why? Because it's persons from the community that own these stalls. And remember, that area is an opposition stronghold. It's an opposition stronghold. So what about them? What about them? How should they respond to this, sir? That's what I want to know. Because we're talking about everything that's going on with Mohammed. But what about the government as a whole and how they treat certain people?
So I think they were trying for a plea bargaining with the US. Why did they try for the plea bargain if there was no truth in the matter? So that happened a long time. That was when? July of last year. That was long before he even announced his intention to run. But did we tell the US? So he's claiming he's being persecuted and he's being a victim. So that's the first thing. Secondly, they on the vehicle. The vehicle, you recall the entire story. The entire story is that he, on his Facebook page, posted that he paid $94 million for 3 vehicles, including the Lamborghini. He then put on the Facebook page his tax receipts. So suddenly, this brought the matter back to the GRA. The GRA then, 2 days later, after that, this was a long time back, not now, long before he announced his intention to run, to say, no, that's not the right taxes. And their invoice is a fake one. I didn't raise that matter. He raised it in the public domain, which led the GRA. We did not know. I did not even know how much taxes he paid, because I don't ask
Right,
GRA. I don't look at a man's vehicle and say how much taxes he paid on this vehicle. We work to change the country. We don't run after those issues. He brought it up in the public domain, then dishonestly claims that he has paid $75,000 for it, produce a fake invoice, dishonestly puts that in an affidavit before the court. Then the GRA, went to the banks and saw that he transferred $695,000 US to the company. They then asked the US Justice Department.
Why y'all notice? Y'all noticing the outrage over something like this? But where is the outrage? Where is the outrage, right? Over what went down with Adrianna. Where is that same level of outrage over what went down with Adrianna? Where's the same level of, this big long address and all of this invested time? Where is the same thing with all of these cases with persons that lost their life? Hmm? Where is all of this conversation? Where is all of this memory of the numbers and the processes? Why is the government, why is the president stepping out and pronouncing on drowning when it's a diagnosis of exclusion? Hmm? Why? Where is all the investigators? Where is the persons that are supposed to make sure there is no stone unturned in this? Hmm? We ain't getting none of that. We getting retired McCushion, who's coming and using fake statements to do reports and put out cases and put things forward that's gonna put things in place to divert justice from this case. That's gonna put things in place to make sure this is swept under the rug in another manner, right? Just like everything else, right now as we speak, right? Persons are experiencing the trauma of losing their loved ones. Persons got to wake up and realize that person is not there. They got to analyze their life and realize that this person will no longer be a part of it. So all of these things that we had planned to do, we can't do them no more. The situation would have changed drastically and fast in front of some of our family members and some of our brothers and sisters in the country. They're feeling it. They're feeling it. You think Kiyama is feeling it right now because she's making a video every day about this? She's feeling it. She's feeling the frustration, the helplessness, the sorrow, the trauma of losing a child in that manner, right? What about his children that's left as well? To come up without no father, all because a person trigger happy. Look at how the one jump out of the van and went in and take out we brother Ronaldo, right? Took him off the planet. No longer can he be a part of his family. He now has to go and be in places where they will never see him again, never know his embrace again. So many of our brothers and sisters got to deal with this, man. And that's why we're going to keep highlighting it, because persons are covering it up. Persons are trying to cover up what is going on. A lot of persons in high places are trying to push false narratives about this case. And that's why we keep telling you. That's why we keep pleading and asking that you hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button. Boost the video in the algorithm so that every person in the diaspora that's following up with what's going on with Adrianna's case, that's saying justice for Adrianna right now, will be able to see this video and understand some of the intricacies that we talk about and be updated with all the details coming from the pathologist, coming from the lead attorney, and everybody else. This is a movement for justice. This is a movement for Adrianna, for Keon, for Ronaldo, for Crummy Wing, for Waddle, for all the persons that they took out, right? For all the persons that lost their lives in suspicious manner. And we're saying this, that after they crack this case right now with Adrianna Young, after they expose the persons involved in the cover-up, so many other cases are going to start to expose the persons involved, because I got a feeling that is a lot of the same people that went into this. And the thing, in a couple of months, we will have the opportunity to bring in the FBI, because we can replace the persons with the authority to bring them, so that we can get closure to these cases and others. And there is satellite footage of the hotel. There is satellite footage of the hotel in accordance with what Mr. Huge would have exposed to us. Mr. Nigel Huge exposed that there is satellite footage that we might be able to get, so that we can expose what went down in the pool, the persons that were present, and everything that went down at the hotel around the time when Adrianna went missing. Right? So the information is there, guys. So if you donate already to the family, check out the comment section. Check out the description. Their GoFundMe is there. Their GoFundMe is there. Make your donation. Play your part in this movement for justice. I want to thank you for being a part of this live broadcast. I want to thank you for spending some time and tuning in to this movement for justice for Adrianna, and for all our brothers and sisters. I want to thank you for spending some time over here with Delta 9 Media. One love, guys. And I will catch you, every single person that tuned in. Audrey, every single person. Tommy, Mark, every single person that was a part of the broadcast. I want to thank you guys for commenting. Jack, every single person that commented, every person that made their voices heard in this broadcast for justice. I want to thank you for playing your part, Carlton. Every single person, everybody who name I even call right now, because I can't scroll the whole list of comments. I thank you for playing your part. I thank you for being a part of the broadcast. Do remember, if this is your first time joining us, subscribe. It don't cost you nothing, but it's going to keep you connected with everything trending in Guyana and in the diaspora. And we come more than 2-3 times a day with all of this trending content. So subscribe, buddy. Subscribe. There's more than 1,000 videos on the channel right now. More than 1,000 videos. And we're on the road to 25K in subscribers. So hit the subscription button. This movement is growing daily. Be a part. I'll catch you in the next flight. One love.